In January every year, I would think about what needs doing or fixing, and then I would concentrate on doing that. And so I was hearing rumors that we were getting the Music Hall of Fame. But yet, when I looked out the window and saw all the storefronts were closed, there was one restaurant downtown, and there were no businesses, no retail. All of the retail had moved out to the mall. And so I decided that we had to do something about that. And I tapped about 6 or 7 people. I remember Joe Wilbanks was one of them. She said, "What are we going to do?" I said, "We're going to revitalize downtown Macon." She said, "Are you sure you've allowed enough time?"
Juanita saw that the chamber and the downtown council really weren't getting things done like she hoped they would. And so she called a group of us together, and she said the Anderson Foundation was willing to fund and try to start a new town. We looked around the room and called on the strongest leader in the room, and that being Kirby Godsey.
She was blunt and frank. She said, "Downtown's dead, we need to do something." So, we followed orders and went forward. Juanita challenged, the foundation challenged us as community leaders to think about what was possible for downtown. Rather than simply observe the erosion, to think about what it could be. The board of Peyton Anderson Foundation would have had no plans, no thought about the renewal of downtown. It was her idea.
It was irritating to her that any place, especially in Georgia, could progress further than we. It was infuriating to her, really, to be honest. Her philosophy is, you don't have to know everything. You just have to, find the right people to do it. And that was something that Peyton instilled in her. And she really grabbed hold of that message, that teaching. She was sort of a deal maker. And she had a lot of good deal makers with her. And so they were a force.
We really did work very hard for a long, long time trying to make things happen downtown. But we always knew we needed some money that we could lend to developers, and so Kirby and I were meeting, and we had an opportunity to meet with Sam Hart, and so we decided to approach Sam Hart about backing a $5 million bond. And when we mentioned it to him, he said, "We're going to have to have a new board member." He said, "I've got a vacancy, so I've got to appoint a new board member." And this was the committee that would decide yes or no on bonds for us. And so I said, "Well, gosh, there's your committee member right there. Kirby would be great." So he appointed Kirby, and we got $5 million. And so when we made the first loan and the construction started, then they seemed to just come out of the woodwork.
We had a name, and we had some funding, and we had a lot of excitement, and we had a very strong leader, and we began putting things together and beginning to do the work that has been going on ever since for the last 25 years. We decided we were going to fix up downtown, and that's when we started the street party. We didn't know what kind of success we were going to have, but we set up some bands and some food places and beer spots and stuff. And all of the beer and the bars and the food vendors ran out about an hour and a half into this thing. We'd expected maybe a couple of thousand people, and we had 15,000 folks showed up. I mean, there was an excitement about it, and it really made a profound difference. The movement has never been as strong as it was when we got NewTown started.
I came here to oversee the expansion of the Macon Mall, and I knew about NewTown, and of course I was following it in the early stages. Dr. Godsey and Juanita Jordan hired a consultant that said, "We need somebody to oversee this project." kind of like a mall manager. They only knew one mall manager, so they asked me to come on board, and we had finished the mall expansion, and so I was just privileged to be a part of the organization. My job with the several initiatives was to get everybody on the same page. We were dealing with city and county, property owners, and so we started talking about the vision, and so we established the initiatives and then started a capital campaign.
NewTown was a catalyst as much as a source of funds in the beginning. We engaged a firm called LDS to do a plan, a visioning for downtown, what it could be. We inaugurated a campaign and raised $16.5 million, which was the first real funds that NewTown had to begin its work.
Kirby is a person that wasn't going to wait for the bureaucratic slowness of decisions. He and Juanita would decide this needs to be done. They'd make decisions and we'd go forward and begin to save properties and do things that would make a big difference. Kirby said, you know, if we have some money, people will come to us rather than us having to go to city council or other places. All of a sudden there was an excitement and an advocacy and people wanting to be a part of the effort that we were making downtown.
We made very small investments that had very large consequences. That's the key. The investment was not so much about the money. It was a way of saying, I'm in this. I'm not just giving something. I'm in this. I'm a part of it. I believe in it. I'm committing to it. NewTown has provided an opportunity for people who are substantial leaders in this community to come together and to imagine something beyond their own individual interest.
I would say the partnerships, bringing people together with a single attitude towards downtown was some of the most important things that we did in the beginning. Of course, the property owners downtown, there were a lot of them that had been here a long time, and with the city and the county, property owners all on the same team, we started moving forward.
From the beginning, NewTown said, let's make a difference and let's be a worker bee, not just an idea person. But from the beginning, we had Juanita Jordan, we had Kirby driving the board. We had the best board of any not-for-profit, and so there was no chance ever that it was going to fail. The board is critical to NewTown because they're leaders. You've got key executives that know you're going to fail, and we have failed a lot of time. But the board has always been behind the staff and saying, get up and let's keep going and we're going to make it happen.
I think NewTown was founded in part to do things that nobody else would do. And sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we're here to take risks that others won't take. We're heavily into lending money to people today and lending money to projects that advance our vision for downtown and lending money that other lenders aren't necessarily going to be willing. I think NewTown can be the single most important organization in Macon in terms of revitalizing not just downtown, but really the whole community.